Welcome into a very special edition of the Mental Dimes podcast as we speak to Samford assistant men's basketball coach Will Acuff. Acuff and I spoke about his time at Randolph and his 1 year as a head basketball coach in the high school ranks in Alabama, and then also his time progressing as a college basketball coach. We speak on how he connects with players at both Samford, and then also how he learns from those players and progresses himself as a coach. It's a fantastic conversation. We touch on many different topics with the sport of basketball and with the role as a coach, which involves being not only a teacher, but a learner and someone who these players can lean on as time and time again rolls around for them as current basketball players, and then also once basketball is over for them. So it's a fantastic conversation that Coach Acuff and I have, so I hope you all enjoy. So I think what was most interesting to me looking at your bio as you go into this year at Samford was the year you spent at Randolph in Huntsville. And that job, you started there not long after you finished playing at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. So when you take a job like that, what is really going through your mind to start this off and say, okay, it's year one at this level of basketball in high school basketball in Alabama. How do I go from there? What was just going through your mind to start that whole process?
Yeah, I'd always probably thought growing up that I was gonna be a college coach, and I was kind of like my thought process. And I got the great honor of being able to help Coach Morris my senior year of high school as the JV coach at Randolph. He needed some help, and it just kind of worked out for me to go over there and help with him and help a little bit with varsity. And so that kind of got me my first introduction to Randolph. And so I remember driving back from the Final Four with my dad, and I was like, "Oh wow, Coach Morris just retired." And I was kind of like, I wonder if I could try to get that job. And that's an interesting job. Like Randolph, kind of think Randolph could be a really cool spot of it being, a little hidden gem in South Huntsville. And I knew the people there a little bit. And I was like, man, I wonder what happened. And kind of the more I thought about it and talked and prayed about it, I was like, you know what? I do think this is kind of the spot. And let's go, you know what? Maybe high school is my calling. Maybe that is, instead of the college route, maybe it is the high school route. And a lot of my biggest influences are my high school coaches. So I was like, you know what, that would be awesome to kind of do that. And it also worked out that kind of the team I'd coached in JV that year was now going to be like juniors and seniors. So it was like, okay, it's not like I don't know who these kids are. I know at least have a little bit of relationship with them. So it's not like walking into brand new kids. And just the more I talked with Blake Davenport, the AD there at the time, and Dr. Peden and everyone else involved, it just kind of seemed like the right fit. And it was definitely hit the ground running. And you got to try to figure out what you want to preach and what you don't, especially at the high school level. And spending that year before in college, obviously, it's almost like a job in college. That's all they do is they go to class, they come to basketball. And now they have class from 8 to 3:15, and then they have tests all the time. And so that was kind of a big adjustment for me there.
Do you think with that, just that 1 year like that, I don't know if did you find maybe a different appreciation for the college game, for the high school game even too as well, because you talked about that it's a job for them at college athletes, especially as times have changed for student athletes at this level. It's a 9 to 5 and it goes even longer than that. But high school, you're dealing with these kids who are younger. They're 16 to 17, 18-year-olds. They're just learning how to drive. They can't even vote yet. So things like that. So with that role you had there, did you find a greater appreciation for maybe the teaching aspect of a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you were dealing with high school, I didn't have one kid on my team that year that wanted to play college basketball, and that is okay. But they're doing it they like basketball, but some of them are doing it because they're boys playing. And so getting them to really want to be good and understanding the fact of okay, you probably really only have an hour and a half every day because most of them are not coming in after to shoot. They just don't care enough. And that's okay. But that was not their end goal. I want to play college basketball. They just want to be good enough to kind of play and be on the team. And so that was probably the biggest jump for me, is going from college where, like you said, it's a job. It's all they do. They're going to school for that. It's what they get their scholarship for. And these guys are like, I know I'm going to go be a frat boy at Alabama, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact of okay, how do I get the most out of them? And you got to kind of balance that. I don't want to be this guy that's on them all the time and makes it no fun for them to come to practice. That was my biggest goal, is I kind of wanted to flip the culture of Randolph of basketball can be fun and we can enjoy it, but also work. And so it did kind of give, and I say this all the time to anyone that like I've talked to about it. I think high school coaches are some of the smartest coaches around because when you're in college, like here at Samford, like we can kind of recruit to what the kids we want. Like, okay, he more fits our system. This is a kind of player we want, run, jump, athletic, shoot, all this kind of stuff that we want. Well, you're in high school, you kind of get who you live in your area. And so one year you could be a team like, man, we're going to be a team that can really, really shoot it. We're going to spread you out, pass, cut. And it's like, man, we can't shoot, but we're athletic. We're going to run and jump and do it. And so I think it's really like, I think high school basketball coaches are the best at adapting to what they have because it is so year to year with them.
I think that's a very great point because it's always talking about the cards that you're dealt. What hand do you have? And that is a great point there at the high school level. And you think yourself, if you would have spent maybe a year more, another year, 2 years there at Randolph, would you have found yourself just not completely flipping over and starting from scratch every year, but definitely, like you said, adjusting to this set of 10 kids from year to year because of that changes at the high school level?
Well, especially at a smaller school, Randolph being 4A and probably having 85 to 90 kids each class, you have a lot of shared athletes. And so, like the year I was there, 10 of my 12 varsity basketball players played football. And they get to the third round. Coach Lloyd's done such a good job there, and it was one of the better years they've ever had. Well, so my kids lost on Friday. We practiced Saturday morning at 9 o'clock and played a game at 7 o'clock that night. Like it was like I was like, all right, here we go. And I mean, most of the football guys didn't play much, but it was like, and then a week later, we're playing in an area game that, like, I mean, in high school basketball, like, really your season comes down to like where you line up in that area and who you match up with. And we knew how important those area games were. So you're playing one of the 6 most important games of your year a week after you got your team back, and all 5 of my starters played football. I think, and it's funny, ending up where I am now, I was kind of like, as everyone in the state of Alabama probably is now, and you see a lot, got very intrigued with Bucky and Bucky ball and running and jumping and not like I kind of been doing a lot of thinking and like just from who my dad is and being around all that, like more offense needs to look pretty and do all this stuff. And I remember talking to one of my buddies who's also a high school coach, is being like, I don't think you can do that in high school. Like he can do it in college because all 5 guys can think, pass, dribble. Like you have some guys like you look up and your best players touch the ball twice in 5 minutes. Like that can't happen. So I was honestly leaning towards going to more the Bucky style of like, I feel like that can be, and Bucky showed you like you can replicate that because it doesn't take skill, it doesn't take athleticism, it takes you to just play really, really hard and give me everything you can. And with me having so many like crossover athletes, just being like, you know what, like I don't have to teach a whole lot of offense. It's going to be play really, really hard, and we can have our system and stuff like an easier of being able to quickly implement things and carry that over.
I think that's a perfect transition to mentioning your dad and just the evolving aspect of college basketball, but especially Alabama basketball in the state. For you all getting here, you're at Lipscomb, which is just up there in Tennessee, and now you're down there in Birmingham with Samford. What's it like to go to a university that's only a couple years removed from a tournament berth under Bucky McMillan, but then also being dropped into a state where you grew up that has now really found its identity with college basketball? Alabama always had that identity with college football, but college basketball has become very, very prevalent at multiple levels at the Division I level. And what's it like now for you all to go into this first year with Samford with that new recognition of the sport in the state?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's really exciting. It's also a lot of pressure because, like you said, like Alabama's kind of been predominantly a football state. I mean, Alabama, Auburn football, Nick Saban, all those guys, and like in high school football is such a big deal around here. And you got, I mean, Hoover's 10 minutes up the road, Trustful, all those schools that are really good. But then Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl have Alabama and Auburn rolling, and then Andy Kennedy and them, if they've been to like 2 or 3 tournaments the last 5 or 6 years, and then obviously UAH has the unbelievable year that they had of going 32-2, and actually before here I was at Montevallo and we go to the NCAA tournament, and I think I saw a tweet like I think 6 or 7 teams in the state of Alabama had 20 wins. Which is like insane. You never would have thought that. Like at one point, like it was insane. And so it shows you how it's been raised and high school basketball being raised. So it's really, really fun. It's also a lot of pressure, but you can just tell like how much people care. Like even we'll go to dinner or go somewhere and like they know who he is, or like, man, we love Samford, we love coming to it. And like anybody like my eye doctor the other day I went to, she knew about Samford basketball and they're super excited. And so it's really exciting. You can tell, I mean, people want to win here, and obviously Bucky created that culture of, like you said, 2 years removed from going to the NCAA tournament, and where you stand on that line of probably he blocks the shot, and who knows what happens coming the other way. They're one or two calls away from beating Kansas on national television. And I mean, obviously, what he did here was unbelievable, and he created so much momentum here. And I think we're very much reaping the benefits of like what he kind of laid, and obviously people before him laid, but he really felt like he rejuvenated this program of like people really knowing about Samford and like, man, this is a basketball like school, they can roll. And so it's been good, but obviously big shoes to fill here.
And joining your dad at Lipscomb before and then now coming down to Samford with him as well, what's that like? I think that is one of the greatest dynamics in sports, especially in college sports, where your staffs are not nearly, at college basketball, especially when your staffs are not nearly as large as you might get with other sports. What's that like working with your dad? I can imagine he was a major influence on you wanting to become a college coach, but just what's that like almost the day-to-day and then into the season and just this off-season, preseason types time frame we're in right now? What's that like working with him?
Yeah, it's been good. This is my third stint because did a GA with him my first year out of college, then went Randolph back for a year as the director of operations at Lipscomb again, then left for Montevallo, then came back here. And so this is kind of my third run with him. It's good and bad at the same time. Obviously, I mean, he is still my dad, and I try really hard, and who knows if I do a good job or not at it. But when we get in this office, I try to act and communicate with him like he's my boss. Like I would the same way of any of my bosses I've had before, of like, I don't need to go talk to him like he's my dad. You talk to him like he's the head coach of the team, and like that's my boss. And so it's been good. It's just also like, obviously I know him better than everybody, so I can just tell like I know when he is getting on edge and kind of walk away. And I do sometimes kind of get to be the martyr of the staff, of where they're like, hey, can you go ask him and like tell him like they know like I kind of know how to deliver it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he is, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think he is one of the best coaches around, and just the way that he treats our guys. And he never puts like, there's some coaches that get after their guys pretty good. And now the staff is in that position of like, we wouldn't talk to him that way, but like our coach, so, kind of often like he never puts us in those spots of like having to, where guys are really complaining about him. And obviously he does stuff that they don't like, but it's such a dream come true getting to work with him. I mean, he's my hero. He is the reason I got into coaching. He's 60 years old, and he's been a head coach. He's 25. So he's been a head coach longer than he's been alive, which is crazy to think about. And so just learning from him. And even though like a lot of people thought I taught, when we would go home, when I was not coaching with him, we didn't talk about basketball. We would some, but like, as far as like, hey, like on this cut and this, like, that's like, he's not Coach Acuff, he's my dad at home. Like, and that's the thing is like, and he, like, everyone sees him as Coach Acuff. Well, that's not that's my dad. And like, we can talk about how are the Braves doing today, or man, do you see like what's going on down there at Auburn football or whatever, and just have normal conversation. So kind of, that was what was so cool about the first years, getting to kind of see him. And like, I've never really been in the locker room when he talks, and every day and all that kind of stuff, and just hearing the message over and over. And just, if I'm ever lucky enough to have my team again, like I had at Randolph, I mean, I felt like it was almost like a tape recorder of my dad with the way I would talk to our guys. But it's been awesome. Like it's been good. And I know my mom loves it because she gets to see me more too. So it's been good.
I think that's such a unique thing too, where you talk about that going home with them. And it's just different. It's not, I wouldn't say, I don't think anyone, especially works in sports, can ever just kind of turn it on, turn it off. It's just because it's there. It is always there in some capacity that you have with sports. But when you're around your dad and things, do you find yourself, do you ever sit down and just watch a game? It may not be a Samford game now or a Lipscomb game in the past or anything like that. Do you ever sit down and you say, okay, hey, let's watch, it's, Elite Eight game or something like that? Do you ever find yourself just sitting there watching you guys just talking, or do you a little analyze the game a little bit? Is it a little mixture of both? How does it go when you guys maybe sit down and watch a game?
Yeah, we'll get more of that because actually, I know Zach told you I got engaged. I'm getting married in May, and I'm actually going to live with them. They just bought a house right here by Samford, and I was kind of in between apartments, and it's like, okay, I should save some money. So I'm actually going to live with them for the next 8 months till I get married. So we're really going to test how this worked with me seeing him. When I worked with him the last 2 times, I didn't live with him either time. So kind of I got my break when he left from work, but now I'm walking in the same house with him. But no, we'll sit and watch. When he's not a big like, oh, it's like what are they like? We'll kind of be watching, and like they'll do something on offense or defense, and be like, he's like, man, like I kind of like that. We'll like rewind it and he'll like, hey, take a video of that. And like, I'll take a
Yeah.
video. He's like, or somebody will do something different or whatever. And he's like, man, like I like that. Like, what did you think about that? And like, but more we just try to like, cause I mean, like you go in the office every day and all you do is you watch film and you analyze like, okay, why did that guy do that? Why are they hard hedge and why are they doing this? And I feel like me and him both kind of do a good job of like when we watch the games, like we're not like, okay, like why are they doing what they're doing? Like we're just kind of watching. And a lot of times he has been in the business for so long, more times than not, the games we watch are because he's like, oh, my buddy that I know they're playing. And like honestly, we watch more games on ESPN Plus of like the mid-major and kind of guys at that level. Then like obviously we love watching the SEC, the ACC, the big boys, but like those are more the people that are like at our level and they do stuff that we do, and so we find ourselves way more on like the ESPN Plus world of watching those games, or we kind of go back to because obviously me being the GSC last year and him spending 22 years, we'll go watch D2 games because we kind of know that world and it's interesting to us. And so, but no, it's more of a relaxed hangout, watch it, like dinner's on, it's on in the background, and just like, man, like that was like, it doesn't go much further than, man, that was a pretty good play. Like, let me go back and see what they did there and just rewind it. And that's about as far as depth as it goes when we watch games.
I love that because you can almost separate you
Mm.
working the sport but then watching the sport. And I think that would help you in the long run just keep that great appreciation for the sport. And it keeps you going the whole time you're in it. Like you said, your dad's been coaching longer than he's been alive. And obviously he has his ways of being able to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to watch a game, but I'm just going to watch the game. I'm not going to try. He might want to analyze it, maybe a little part,
Yeah,
but he's not going to let that
absolutely.
little part of him overtake the whole experience of watching the game.
Mhm. No, absolutely. It's, yeah,
No, go ahead.
100%. No, I say like you always have to turn off and you're like, I probably wouldn't do that, but also you understand like there's probably a reason they're doing what they're doing, and we're sure that people watch our teams are like, I don't know why they're running that or doing that. Like there's obviously like I think that more and get more appreciated as a coach is like you're very slow to be like, why are they doing that? Like because like you're not in the office, you don't know like that dude is not doing this well, and so like no one knows their team better than the head coach, obviously. So like you understand no one knows what the other coach is going through. And so like I think it's always why you see more head coaches are really slow to be like, yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing, because like no one truly knows what goes on in the locker room and is at practice every single day.
Yeah. I think too, you're now into this position here and you're only a few years still removed from UAH. So when you look at yourself and you're entering the office and you have this new roster and you're preparing for a new season, how do you approach connecting with these guys? Because you're only a few years older than them.
Mhm.
How do you go about connecting with them? Is that a benefit you see that you're nearer them in age, or is it at times just kind of I maybe feel a little bit more of a space between us, even though I'm around the same
Mhm.
age? How do you work that?
Yeah, I think you can go either way with it. I would say I view it as a benefit. Obviously my main role here is head of player development, and I work our guys out a lot, and I feel like it's a good way for like I kind of know their world of like they'll talk about stuff and like I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Whereas like they'll say something in front of my dad or other assistants, they're kind of like, I don't know that, but like they can kind of relate to me, and I feel like the spot that I'm in too with my dad being the head coach, like I almost have to work like twice as hard to know that like, hey man, like we can talk and you can tell me whatever you want. I'm not running in there and telling him
Yeah.
like there's things he just doesn't need to know. Like you can be frustrated. Like I promise you, if anyone's been frustrated with my dad, it's me. Like I've had those moments. He's my own father. Like so I get it. But like I think it's a benefit because I do think being able to get close to those guys and they can trust you, and especially being the workout guy that like that's such a like that is their space. Like when I think when a player texts you and says, "Hey, I want to work out," like that is putting so much trust in you because it's like this is my game and I'm trusting you with it. And like I'm putting it in your hands, and like I could either go get on a gun or go work out with anybody else, but I'm choosing you. And so I take that very seriously. Of like, you know what, like they are trusting me and I want to get them better. And so I think that's such a cool thing to do is like that's kind of where I feel like I build my biggest relationship with them is like we'll work out and then after like we don't talk about basketball. Like man, like it's like when the ball stops bouncing, what do you want to do with your life? Like what do you want to do? Like, and I feel like that's been a good benefit for me. And I will say, like the couple stops I've made, I feel like I have made relationships with those guys that I've coached that I will have forever. And something I feel like there's been a big benefit for me is I get close with our guys. But like you said, like there's obviously that line of like, hey, I am the coach in the day. Like I don't need to know what you go do on the weekends or whatever. That's your world. But like we can be tight and talk, and you can talk to me about anything. And so I definitely feel like it's a benefit being close to that age, as long as you know you don't walk that line of going too far.
I could be wrong, but it definitely would seem to me that connection that you can develop with these guys, it comes from the age that you have, it was close to them, but also, I mean, your time at the high school level and what you've talked about here now and talked about what you experienced at Randolph and how you approach that position there, and then now how you approach this position here. You're in that position of you're teaching and you're leading and you're coaching, but at the same time, you're there to be a friend. You're there to be someone who they can look to. And I really admire the statement you made there. They put a lot of trust in me and those workouts. Any one of us who doesn't work with this team or work with players might see it as it's just a workout. But I really admire that you see that and say, no, they are trusting me. I got to give it everything I absolutely have to this hour and a half workout that we might have together. So I find that very inspiring. I find that very interesting that you have that perspective, especially, so early in your career with this and knowing what role you have, not just year to year with different guys, but just as a whole for a program. I think that's incredible.
I appreciate, yeah, that was, and I think it's just because of how much influence like my coaches, like my high school coaches, like I played college baseball, and the guy that's actually going to officiate my wedding was my high school baseball coach. And like, I trust him. And like, there'd be times I'd be struggling in high school or even in college. I would like call him like, hey man, can I just come hit for 30 minutes? Like and like, I knew how vulnerable I was in those spots. Like hey man, I need help. Like I need help to figure this out. And like how intentional he was with me. And like, you could tell he didn't just walk out there. And I mean, obviously he had his own team coaching, and I don't even play for him, but like you could tell he had like really thought about what he wanted to do with me. And it just makes you feel good when someone takes time and energy out of their day to really do something. Okay, this is specific to you, and I think this will get better for you. And so that's probably why I feel like I am the way that I am.
And I think that speaks to coaches. I think so many people, especially nowadays, just see a coach as, okay, it's somebody who's getting a paycheck. They work 5-6 months out of the year. Some folks see that, but you make a great point, and I can connect with that as well. Playing in my time frame when I played in school, and I was not the athlete that you were or anyone who you work with now or have worked with in the past, but you form that connection with the coach. And it's someone who hopefully is someone who can be an inspiring person for you, but then also a crutch when you need it to help you and lean on and things like that. And so I think that just sums up what a coach is. And I think it's so funny. Do you find when your dad, if he's ever around former players he had in his previous stops, do they still call him coach? Do they still address him as coach first? They don't call him first name or anything, do they?
Oh, I don't know if I've probably could count on two hands how many times I've heard people call him who are not older than him, call him Lenny. Like it's coach. It is coach, and all the time, like it doesn't matter if guys he coached in his first stop ever at Belhaven or if dudes that he coached 2 years ago. It is Coach Acuff. Like all the time, like one of the guys that's on our staff now, Kip Owens, he played for Dad in 2016. I'll mess up the years, but he played for him at UAH, and like I saw it, like I was riding with him, we were going somewhere, and my dad texted me, just said Coach Acuff on his contact. Like it's always going to be that way, and I'm still the same way with those guys. And it's just, I think coaches are so powerful. Like I saw a tweet today, it's like coaches are the most influential people in the world, and I think like the reason you hear those guys call them coaches, I think kids are smarter than we think. They can read through like I'm just doing this just to get something from you. Like, oh, just very transactional of like, man, like if you do this, this gets me to go to the next spot. And like, they can read through of like, man, does he really care about me? And like, okay, like that's been the biggest thing is like, I want to be able to treat those dudes like, whether you're the guy getting 20 a night or you're the guy that ain't playing, like, I don't want you like, man, like he talks to him and hangs out with him and laughs with him more than me. And I'm not playing, and like, you don't want to flip. And so I think he's done such a good job of just being genuine in your relationships. And like, I think that's a big deal. Like, it's not just basketball. And it's super hard now when this portal world, like we might have these cats for 9 to 10 months and like they're gone. And I think the best way, like, you could get those dudes to stay is invest relationally. Like, I think you saw that with his team at Lipscomb this past year. I mean, you had 3 or 4 dudes that probably could have went in the portal and gotten pretty decent money. But because I think, one, they like the culture that was built there, but 2, their genuine relationship with him, they bring him back and now they get to go play in the NCAA tournament. And I think personally, that's how you keep guys over most things is like relationships. And yeah, obviously there's times like dudes are going to get a number that, yeah, our relationship's awesome. I like you a lot, but you're going to like, this is life changing money. But I just think kids are so much smarter than we think and give them credit for. Like they can sense when you're like, okay, I don't really think you care that much. Like if I quit playing baseball, would you or basketball, would you text me anymore? And so like that's like some of the guys at Montevallo that I got to coach last year, like they texted me the other like they text me like, hey, what's up or whatever. And like that makes me happy. Like those are guys that I'll hopefully, even though I was with them for a year, like will be close with them for the rest of their lives.
Well, Will Acuff, absolute pleasure to speak with you tonight. We really appreciate you giving us time. First guest for our Mental Dimes podcast. Just an incredible conversation to have with you. Really hoping for you and your dad and the rest of the staff there at Samford the best this upcoming season. But thank you so much for just spending a few minutes to chat with us about yourself and your time as a coach. So appreciate it.
Man. I appreciate it. Thank you for asking me. I mean, Zach was awesome that year. I was with him at Randolph, and he's a good dude. And I know he speaks very highly of you. And I knew you guys kind of got that rolling a couple of years ago, and excited for you to get back and honored to be the first guest back. Man, I'm pumped, but I appreciate you asking me. It was awesome.
Yeah, of course. And I've been spending my whole time since I met him trying to fill the shoes that Behringer lays out for me, because it's tough to fill the shoes and the excitement that he has around me. He's a coach, and like you and I are talking about, he's a coach. And so
yes, he
is the epitome of the word, and he is a great connection. But again, really, 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 what a great conversation. I just can't get over it. I mean, you seem to really have a great grasp on your role as a coach, but then your role in life as well. And I just find that very inspiring, and just hoping for you to have the best this upcoming year. So
I appreciate it, man. Hope to get you down for a game. Welcome anytime. Just hit me up and get you down here from Bulldog gear.
I tell you what, you don't need to twist my arm to watch a college basketball game. I can.
There we go, man.
You can put me in the middle of the ocean on a submarine and I'll watch basketball games. So don't worry about that.
I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you, Will. We appreciate
Absolutely, man. Good talk. See you.